The virtual world of racing has been helping us to get our fix of missing motorsport in our lives, such as the virtual Grand Prix, which has been a really big success, seeing drivers from Formula 1, from Formula 2, and even some other celebrities such as footballers and cricketers as well getting involved. It's been a really big success, seeing all your favourite drivers in one big event like you normally would in Formula 1, unless you're a Lando Norris fan, that is. Anyways, at the end of the video, I'll be telling you guys what Kimi Raikkonen said about the possibility of him joining the virtual world of racing. Now that would be really cool to see. So stay tuned to find out what he said. I mean, you could just skip to the end of the video and find out what he says anyway now, but it's entirely up to you. So the first story is that reports are coming from Italy that Sebastian Vettel has rejected the 1-year contract extension that Ferrari have offered him. We know Sebastian Vettel's current deal runs out at the end of 2020. They're saying that Ferrari have offered him a 12 million a year salary on a 1-year deal. However, Sebastian Vettel was not satisfied with this and he wants a multi-year deal, reports of 2 years, and a salary a lot closer to his current one, which stands at 40 million euros, which sounds pretty tasty. I would take the 12 million euros now. So if Ferrari listen to this, I'll drive for years for 12 million a year, no problem at all. Oh no! Oh, that's bad. That is bad. That is bad. That is bad. Oh, for God's sake. I'll be fine. I'll make the coffees or whatever. I'll do something. Sebastian Vettel came into Ferrari in 2015 following a shock decision to leave Red Bull at the end of 2014. He's been with the team for about 6 years now, and he wanted to emulate what his hero Michael Schumacher did, come into Ferrari, stable the ship, get everyone together on board, work as a team, and win championships. And he hasn't achieved it, unfortunately. He's come close in 2017 and 2018, but Sebastian Vettel's driving has let him down, the team have let him down. So really, it's been a bit of a failure, which I don't want to say that, but in the sense that, well, Alonso going was a failure, then this one definitely is a failure. But there is still time for Seb to win a championship. But in my opinion, I think that opportunity has well and truly gone. But if Sebastian Vettel does decide to leave, then the likes of Daniel Ricciardo and Carlos Sainz are rumoured to get the drive should the German leave the team. Now, my opinion on this, and I think Sergio Perez is another driver who is also linked with that seat. My opinion on this is that Ricciardo, Sainz and Perez will not get that drive. The driver that I believe will is Alfa Romeo driver Antonio Giovinazzi. Now, there's two main reasons to this. One, he's Italian, and two, he's the perfect number 2 driver. Of course, having an Italian driver in Ferrari makes total sense. They haven't had one since Giancarlo Fisichella stood in for the injured Felipe Massa at the end of 2009. And yeah, it's been a long time coming that they wanted an Italian in their car. And to be fair, imagine the atmosphere if Giovinazzi does get that drive, wins in Italy. Amazing. Italian driver on the top set of Monza in a Ferrari. Wow, that would just be absolutely incredible. And yeah, my other point is that he's the perfect number 2 driver. So we know that Charles Leclerc is the future of Ferrari. It's now up to him to deliver Ferrari's success for the future. He's talented enough, he's quick enough, he just needs the right amount of support around him at the team. And of course he needs that number 2 driver, which Sebastian Vettel probably won't agree to that. Maybe this where a couple of stumbling blocks could come into play. Ferrari have always been that team where they've had a number 1, they've had a number 2, and at this moment in time, I think they've kind of got 2 number 1s. They wanted Charles to play number 2. He's pretty much outdone Sebastian Vettel. 2 wins and 7 pole positions compared to Vettel's 2 poles and 1 win. Once again, Vettel has been outdone by his younger and less experienced teammate. So Charles Leclerc is definitely good enough to take Ferrari forward. However, having these 2 guys in a team can have consequences, like we've seen in Brazil, and of course, like we've seen in Russia. Things can boil over, and I think if Giovinazzi was there, yeah, it might be 1 or 2 incidents. But to be fair, if Giovinazzi was told to move out the way, then that'll be no problem. He would just happily do that. He's in a Ferrari. That's all he wants. He's not exactly World Championship material, but I do believe that Giovinazzi being the Italian, being the patriot that he is, he will manage to get a couple of results. And if he doesn't, then I'm pretty sure that one of the academies, likes of Eilert, the likes of Schumacher, Schwartzman, if they deliver in Formula One, which one of them will replace Giovinazzi or even replace Raikkonen, as I think he will leave at the end of the season. So Ferrari could put one of their junior guys in that team, get them ready, and then if Giovinazzi or whoever's in that seat at the time can get some experience behind them, get them in that seat, and then you've got pretty much a solid lineup for the future. It just depends on who wants to play number one and who wants to play number two. Future's very exciting for Ferrari, but let us know in the comment section below what you think about this. Should Vettel stay? Should Vettel leave? Who should replace Sebastian Vettel? Should he leave Ferrari? And also as well, we've actually discussed the possibility of Ricciardo going to Ferrari and Vettel going the other way to Renault in a video that we made earlier this year. Link will be in the I button just above there for you guys. So our next story is a guy that we just briefly spoke about in the first part, Daniel Ricciardo. Now he said this week that he wouldn't rule out a return to Red Bull. We know now in 2018 that he made the shock announcement that he's going to be leaving the team and going off to Renault, which I'm still very surprised at to this day. But nevertheless, Renault were good in 2018. And as we all know, 2019 proved to be a difficult year for the team. It looked like Ricciardo had made a mistake, but I'll get onto that in a little bit. Contract talks are set to begin between the two parties in Renault and Ricciardo over a brand new deal, as Ricciardo's contract, like Seb's, runs out at the end of 2020. However, team principal Cyril Abiteboul, all-round fun guy, said that it'll be tough to begin negotiations without knowing how a driver is performing. Now, he's obviously relating to that there's been no racing this year. He's got pretty much last year's data to go off. Who knows how good of a car this season's car could have been? It could have been an improvement, or it could have been a complete failure, like what some people are actually reporting. And I think a lot of people have said that they would like to see Ricciardo back at Red Bull as well. That's where he made a name for himself. That's where Ricciardo looked at his best. It was just a shame that the likes of, well, to be fair, Renault couldn't produce a good enough of an engine. It was unreliable. It cost Ricciardo dividends, and he possibly could have won at least one world title at some point with the team, but unfortunately he hasn't. And I'm still a bit confused as to why he went to Renault, but then again, Renault being a works team, they would have had more reliability. But McLaren finished ahead of Renault, and they were the highest placed Renault-powered engines. So my opinion on this is that first and foremost, and I can guarantee this now, Ricciardo will not sign that deal until Vettel and Ferrari have come to a decision themselves. Ricciardo knows that there's an opportunity to go to Ferrari, and he will want that seat. I don't think Renault, because of their progress in the past couple of years, they will not be nowhere near ready enough by the time the new regulations come in, which at time of recording is 2022. The possibility of them being pushed back till 2023. He'll be watching over Maranello. He will want that drive, and I'll be very, very extremely surprised if he signs the Renault deal before Ferrari and Vettel have agreed some sort of whether Vettel is staying or whether Vettel is going. But like I said earlier, I think Giovinazzi will get that seat, but I would like to see Ricciardo in that seat anyway over at Ferrari. So Renault have struggled. Ricciardo knows this. He can't really exploit his proper driving abilities in that car. However, I do believe Renault can get the act together only until the new regulations come into play. And even then, I'm not 100% sure at that. A lot of people aren't as well. It's more or less the engine that's let them down. The car itself was pretty good. The drivers themselves, again, pretty good. Ricciardo and, of course, Nico Hülkenberg, they had their troubles. Reliability was a big, big issue for them. Only had a good couple of results, I think some in Canada and some in Italy off the top of my head. Then, of course, had that really bad disqualification in Japan. But when I'm thinking about a possibility of Ricciardo back to Red Bull, I'm like, no. Ricciardo didn't want to be there. He got frustrated with Red Bull, not Renault, that they weren't making any significant progress, that they had stayed in the exact same spot. And yes, I think Red Bull have to take some of this blame, but more at Renault's door, because Renault's power unit was just, it was good enough, it just wasn't reliable enough. And that's what cost Verstappen, that's what cost Ricciardo. Verstappen wanted to be part of the Honda project. Ricciardo was a bit uneasy because of what had happened over at McLaren. But if you look at Honda's data with Toro Rosso, it's much better than what it was in 2017, 16 and 15 put together. It was incredible. So I don't know why Ricciardo didn't want to be there. So I think it's more the whole Max Verstappen thing, which brings me back to the next point. If Ricciardo does go back to Red Bull, the only driver I can see him replacing is Albon, which I think would be very unfair. Ricciardo didn't want to be there. He didn't want to drive alongside Verstappen. So now it's not all going right at Renault. He wants to come back. No, mate, you've made your bed and you're lying it, which sounds harsh, but it's true. The only way I can see Ricciardo genuinely going back to Red Bull is if Verstappen leaves, which I think he will before the end of his contract. Now, maybe not the end of his contract, but maybe the next 2 or even 3 years. Because at this moment in time, the regulations are in at 2022, which I think that's when, I said before, Renault won't make any progress until then, perhaps. But there's the chance that it could be pushed back even further till 2023. I don't think Ricciardo will wait that long. He's 30-year-old at the moment, 31 in July. He could be a potential seat filler. If Albon doesn't perform, then perhaps Red Bull could come in. But even so, he wouldn't want to go alongside Verstappen because he didn't want to in the first place. And I think the likes of Mercedes, if Hamilton does leave, then I think Mercedes will snap up Max Verstappen in a heartbeat, bring in Ricciardo for maybe a couple of years until one of their junior guys is ready. So yeah, I think there's a better chance of Ricciardo going to Ferrari than there is to Red Bull. But what would you guys like to see? Would you guys like to see Ricciardo at Ferrari or stay at Renault? And even just adding my final word again, if Ricciardo does go to Ferrari, he's got Charles Leclerc to contend with. So he's going to be in the same situation, doesn't matter where he goes, if he partners Verstappen, if he partners Charles Leclerc. It's going to be no win for him anyway. It's just going to be a better chance for him to get race wins in podiums. He won't win a championship with either of them. I can guarantee it now. He will not win a championship with either of them. And unfortunately, I think it is time to admit, unless Renault come up with this amazing package from nowhere, I can't see Ricciardo winning a world championship. But let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Next up is everyone's favourite team principal, unless you're Kevin Magnussen. Guenther Steiner has insisted that Haas are here to stay in Formula 1. There's been a few rumours in the past few months that say that Haas will be evaluating the start of their 2020 season to determine whether they stay in Formula 1 or not. Now, of course, with the current situation going on, it's not only Haas that are in doubt of surviving and staying in Formula 1, it's the other small teams as well. The other one being, of course, Williams, Alfa Romeo, possibly if they want to invest in the Sauber franchise, even Sauber themselves. Do they want to still be in Formula 1 if Alfa pull out of a deal? So yeah, there's a lot of doubt, not only about Haas, but other teams. However, Guenther Steiner has said that he's in regular contact with Gene Haas, the founder of Haas Racing, and saying that he wants to help to get back to racing. However, he did add that nobody knows what the future holds for the world at this present time, and Gene is a businessman and he can't wait forever. Of course, the cost cap rules come in apparently in 2021 still, and of course the new regulations come in 2022, which is it's supposed to help the smaller teams kind of close up the gap to the big teams. Now, there are currently talks going on right now to reduce this cost cap from 175 million to 150 million, potentially going all the way down to 100 million, which teams like Haas and Williams would prefer, because there's no development going on at the moment, and of course there's no money being generated by any teams, so everyone's going to be almost on the breadline essentially. It's a bit of a shame, but hopefully these teams can survive, and Haas is of course one of those teams in danger. So I think Gene Haas, he does want to finish off this project when he started in Formula 1. 2019 was a shocking year for the team, finishing 9th, just above Williams. It started, the first 2 races were quite good, then it was just all wrong from there, being in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. But then and even 2020 season kind of got off to a bit of a bad start. They did the least amount of mileage and laps in testing. They had lots of crashes. K-Mag missed that big afternoon in, I think it was like day 3 or day 4 of testing. So they would have lost a lot of time, and it looked like that Williams were going to be ahead of Haas, which I still doubt to this day. But we'll see. If the season does go ahead, we'll see how it goes. So, I think the only way if Haas will genuinely leave is if they have a really, really bad start to the season, whenever that season will be. Because I believe that Gene Haas will still be evaluating the 2020 season, even if it is going to be delayed, even if it's going to be a shorter season, because financially it's not going to be good, not just for him, but for other teams as well. So I do, from a personal, fans perspective, I do want them to stay, because more the merrier. We want as much teams on the grid as we possibly can to add the excitement, to add the drama into racing, and of course we want to see some more drivers coming into the grid, which Haas could open the opportunity to, let's say, some Ferrari young drivers, because they've got this tie-in with Ferrari, buying the parts, buying the engine. So yeah, I think it'll be a missed opportunity if Haas do decide to just to leave altogether. They have impressed everyone since coming into the sport back in 2016. We didn't know how they were going to do. They did things differently. They got a tie-in with Ferrari. They, instead of building the stuff themselves, they bought everything from Ferrari, all the spare parts, and it's worked out for them. 2019 was a bad year, but hopefully 2020 and the future can be good for the team. What do you think about Haas? Do you think that they'll stay? Do you think they'll leave? What do you want to see from them? Let us know in the comment section below. And finally, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Kimi Raikkonen has had his say on whether he wants to join the virtual world of racing. And this is exactly what he said. And I quote, "I don't care." Classic Kimi. Classic Kimi. It's a shame because, yeah, I would like to see Kimi Raikkonen involved, but maybe the social media thing, getting him on social media, that's probably as far as he's going to get in terms of the virtual world. But anyways, guys, this is where I'm going to wrap up F1 24/7 for this week. Thank you so much for watching. We've got a really, really good, exciting video coming up for you guys this week on the F1 debate show on Saturday at 6 p.m. UK time. And I think we're going to be releasing a bit of a schedule coming up soon as well, just so you guys know what videos we're uploading at what day, because we seem to be a bit of all over the place in terms of content. So we'll try and come up with something to release over on our Twitter at F1_day16 or on the community page over here on YouTube. If you're new around here, then please subscribe, like as well. Comment below about anything that we've said, and all the articles that we've used in today's video will be in the description below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.